At the beginning of the Pacific War, the Japanese Empire exploded across the Pacific following the surprise six-carrier raid on Pearl Harbor on 7th December 1941. The Philippines had fallen, Hong Kong, Malaya, Singapore, Guam, the Dutch East Indies, large parts of New Guinea, amongst others. Japan already had control of many former German-held Pacific islands, such as Truk and Palau, a legacy of World War I. By November 1943, the Japanese Empire was vast, as shown grey in this chart, but the Allies had halted the Japanese expansion at the Battle of the Coral Sea in May 1942, shown at the bottom of this chart, and then at the Battle of Midway in June 1942, shown towards the top of the chart. From that point onwards, in the summer of 1942, Japan had given up dreams of further expansion and sought to hold on to her conquests. In November 1943, the Allies began their Great Central Pacific Drive. US forces invaded and seized the Gilbert Islands of Tarawa and Macon before seizing strategic Marshall Islands such as Kwajalein and Majuro in January 1944. As the Allies readied for further operations on New Guinea and then the Mariana Islands, the great Japanese forward naval and air base of Truk could not be left behind the line of advance. On 17th and 18th February 1944, in Operation HAILSTONE, Truk would be smashed and neutralised by the 9 carriers of Task Force 58, carrying some 600 strike aircraft. Task Force 58 arrived in darkness, undetected, about 100 miles off Truk on the evening of 16th February 1944. The following morning, still in darkness at about 04:30, 17th February 1944, 72 Grumman F6F Hellcat fighters launched for an initial fighter sweep. After about an hour of flight, the Hellcats swept over Truk, catching and destroying many Japanese fighters on the ground. Those Japanese fighters not destroyed were scrambled, and those that got aloft then took on the Hellcats in one of the largest aerial dogfights of World War II. Although the Mitsubishi A6M0 fighter had been almost untouchable at the beginning of the war, it was now no match for the new F6F Hellcat. The Zeros were shot out of the sky. Now, with undisputed control of the skies, over the 2 days of Operation HAILSTONE, successive waves of dive bombers and torpedo bombers swept over the Truk Lagoon, sinking in all some 50 Japanese ships. In this combat photograph, many ships are clustered around Dublon Island in the 4th Fleet anchorage. Several are on fire and smoking heavily already. In this combat photograph, one aerial torpedo is running an erratic course towards the stern of Hanagawa Maru, whilst a second torpedo has run straight as a die and exploded against the starboard side of this large transport ship. The 4,700-ton Japanese transport ship Hanagawa Maru was one of those ships sunk. She had arrived at Truk a few days earlier carrying a cargo of aviation gasoline in 55-gallon drums. She was at anchor, her crew busily offloading her cargo at the fueling dock on Tall Island when she was attacked by TBF torpedo bombers from the carrier Bunker Hill. One torpedo hit her on the starboard side of hold number 2, causing a large explosion as her cargo of aviation fuel ignited. Ablaze, she sank quickly, and she now sits upright in a depth of about 30 metres. That's about 100 feet in old money.